The election may be over, but Russian President-elect Vladimir Putin hasn't eased up on the tough talk aimed at Washington and NATO. He's continuing to warn that Russia won't back down from its objections to US and NATO plans for a European-based missile defence shield. Mr. Putin has called the plan the biggest security threat facing his country. In response, Russia is pushing ahead with the deployment of a new generation of nuclear-capable short-range missiles in Kaliningrad, a Russian enclave surrounded by EU countries Poland and Lithuania. Moscow correspondent Norman Hermans filed this report from Kaliningrad.
This is Russia now, but Kaliningrad has a complicated past. Nearly 700 years of German history mixed with decades worth of brutalist Soviet architecture. This was Königsberg, the heart of East Prussia, annexed by the Red Army after the Second World War and renamed Kaliningrad.
We are a part of Russia, but at the same time we are separated from it by the other states. That is why we have an international passport for each person. Even for a kid, it's absolutely essential.
Passports are a must because since the collapse of the Soviet Union, Kaliningrad has been cut off from the rest of Russia. With Lithuanian independence, it became an enclave, wedged between two EU countries. Nearly the entire German population was expelled by Stalin, but a handful of families remain. Andrei and Lydia Renda moved here after living most of their lives in the USSR.
This is former German land. You feel there is something here, some ties, maybe at the genetic level. Our predecessors lived here.
Like the 60s-era House of the Soviets building that dominates the city center, the Cold War is also unfinished here. Kaliningrad is ground zero for the biggest security clash of the last decade between the United States, NATO, and Russia. The US and NATO continue to develop a missile defense shield based in Eastern Europe. Retired Brigadier General Kevin Ryan served with U.S. Missile Defense Command and as defense attaché to Russia. With Iran's defiance over its nuclear program, he says, plans for anti-missile defense are accelerating.
Iran today and over the last decade has developed the greatest ballistic missile program of any other country in the Middle East. And we see that as an emerging threat to the United States, but also to our allies in Europe.
Russia has responded with alarm. It was big news when outgoing President Dmitry Medvedev opened a new powerful radar station in Kaliningrad. He also addressed the nation to warn of the dangers posed by a defense shield which the Kremlin says could target Russian missiles. Moscow says unless something changes, it will deploy Iskander missiles in Kaliningrad, aimed at NATO missile shield sites. Sergei Shepetilnikov is a Kaliningrad deputy with the ruling United Russia Party.
I am concerned over the disruption of the strategic balance of forces, especially nuclear ones. Having set up the new defence region, the Americans deprive the Russian Federation, if it is being attacked by nuclear means, to reply back.
That is not an isolated view in Kaliningrad. Many here, like these young people, think Russia is only doing what it should to defend itself.
American President Obama violated an agreement and deployed a missile shield. Our president made it clear it is not allowed to do such things, and we won't be silent about that.
I think this missile deployment is a necessity. We will feel more protected this way.
Russia has repeatedly questioned the need to locate parts of the missile shield so close to Kaliningrad. This small village in northern Poland, a future missile shield base, is less than 200 kilometers from the Russian enclave. The virtually unused air base at Radzikova is a key part of the missile defense plan. 24 interceptor missiles will be located here. They'll be launched to destroy any incoming threat. But Russia has made it clear, once the interceptors are here, this base will be a primary target for its missiles in Kaliningrad. Even closer than Radzikova is Gdansk. This too was once someplace else, the German city of Danzig. The Second World War started here. The famous shipyards gave birth to the Solidarity movement that many argue was the catalyst for communism's collapse in Eastern Europe. Here, many take a pragmatic view when asked about being targeted by Russian missiles just over the border in Kaliningrad.
We know what real war is all about today. Geographically speaking, historically speaking, this is not the place that can afford the comfort of being neutral. Not here, unfortunately. We're not Switzerland.
So it seems all sides are digging in. But for some in Kaliningrad, says this professor, an enclave armed with nuclear-capable missiles and a nuclear power plant under construction is not the image they want to project. These students, he says, see a future as connected to Europe as it is to Russia.
All these plants can be destroyed because if you have Iskander missiles here and nuclear power plant, many people in Europe can consider you as an enemy.
There are still grand plans to turn this place into some sort of Russian Singapore. But if Moscow and Washington can't resolve their differences on missiles, Kaliningrad risks being known not as a base for trade, but rather as a base for Russian missiles in the heart of Europe. Norman Hermont, Laidline.